Fine. Then the next challenge I faced was that the time management. Since I live quite far from the university, I had to commute almost about an hour to reach UPC. So, so instead of just going home and doing my assignments and all my homework, I just stayed in the university and utilized the university spaces like the library and all the study areas in the department. That way, I could find more time to do all my assignments and just go home to sleep. That's it for me.
Yeah, from my end, fortunately, I grew up in Vancouver, and I actually went to UBC for my undergrad as well. So the transition to actually working in the lab was pretty smooth for me. From an actual research perspective, is obviously, it's a bit of a roller coaster in the first few months to a year. It takes you a while to get kind of used to the research mentality. It's definitely different, as Pavi mentioned, from your undergrad. It's very kind of self-disciplined. So you need to go about all your daily activities with very little supervision. So it's nice in that regard that you're able to set your own time. But at the same time, it's also difficult because everything is kind of open-ended. And I would suggest mainly just kind of taking advice from more senior members in your lab. Your supervisor obviously is going to have a lot of like a wealth of information to kind of to dip into. So yeah, those would be my main tips. And just getting started with your degree.
Right. So for me, I also did like my master studies here. So perhaps I can talk a bit about like what happened before. Like I just come to Canada. So my main challenge is basically I'm an international student and English is not my mother tongue. So I have difficulty in the first like several weeks to maybe half a year or something to get used to the life in Canada and build up my social circle. So one thing I found pretty helpful is for my language barrier at the beginning, I went to some program at UBC called Tandem Language Learning Program, where you can pair with another student like English speaker who want to learn your mother tongue. For me, it's Mandarin. So, and with like every week, maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes English, 30 minutes Mandarin. So that helped me like to learn more about the Canadian culture and also get familiar with the language. And also for making friends, like how to fit in this new environment. Basically, it helped me a lot to find my own community, like the same new students coming to UBC from same culture background, and also some senior students in my lab that I can talk to and ask questions to. So yeah.
Okay, so I was an international student when I joined UBC. So when you're an international student and you arrive at UBC in a new country, then it takes some time to get used to it, get to know about new things, new policies, rules, regulations. So it took me around like 3 weeks to get settled down. And at the same time, you have to like shortlist your research topic. That's very important actually, because if you're unable to like identify a proper research topic where you could produce an output, I mean, that would be a big trouble if you're unable to do so at some later point. So that was the biggest challenge. Yeah, so I used my some of my research techniques that I used in my master's in another country. I use some of those works to build up my PhD work. That's all from my side.
Thanks, Arya. From my end, in terms of a transition period, I didn't go through a specific transition period, but when I first started, however, the orientation program back in the days when we could meet in person, the ECE organized a beautiful orientation program similar to this one, where we met grad students and interacted with them, and we heard their stories. This sort of prepared me mentally to what I was going to expect. And also there were several sessions organized by the International and Graduate Student Society about the plethora of services that are offered to us as students, from medical services to helping with applying for work and immigration services. The reason this was helpful is because when you start a program, especially a graduate one, you hope to get bureaucratics out of your way to focus on your studies. And I also had the challenge of submitting progress reports every, I think, 3 months to the ECE grad department to update them on my research, while I had courses to take and needed a bit more time to decide on my PhD topic. That being said, I followed an advice that was given to me by someone. I can't really recall whom gave me that advice, but it was to work with a PhD student or a postdoc. They would help me learn quickly how the lab runs, where the tools are, and get me to a state where I can conduct my own research or experiments, thus saving me a significant time figuring out things on my own. So I was very lucky, I'd say, that I found that person. He was a former PhD student, whom I'm forever grateful for. So yeah, do try to work with someone you can find in your lab, former student. That will definitely help.